What's going on, everybody? This is Jeff at Altcoin Buzz. Today we're going to talk about something that I feel all of you should know about Bitcoin and investing in Bitcoin, and that involves the two types of buyers that we really have. You have the individual, and your friends and other investors, right? Then you have investment capital that comes from what we call whales or institutional investors. Institutional investors, also known as whales, they tend to bring billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars into Bitcoin. So, just when you think that your $500 and your cousin's $500 and your grandpa's $8,000 investment into Bitcoin is a big obligation or a big commitment, think about the investment firms that bring in billions of dollars or millions of dollars into this. Now, I bring this onto your radar and into light, because what ends up happening when they pull out profit and they take profit on that, what's going to end up happening to to the price of Bitcoin? It's going to go down, right? Because just let's look at it like this, all right? So Bitcoin, if we just take a look at the price here, all right. So the market cap is 168 billion, almost 169 billion dollars, right? Now, what we'd all like to know is how much of that is institutional investment. For example, if someone had $5 billion in Bitcoin, if some investment firm brought in $5 billion in investment capital, and by the way, this is what they say is coming. So even though it might not be there right now, $5 billion in investment capital in Bitcoin, they say that's coming. The institutional investment on that magnitude is coming. So if someone pulled out $5 billion in Bitcoin just to take profit, so I don't know, someone invests $5 billion, they invest it at $8,000 per coin, they decide they want to take profit when it reaches 10, right? So they pull their $5 billion out. That takes us down to 163. So then you have to take this multiple into this multiple, and then you have a lower price per Bitcoin. Now, what typically ends up happening is when one whale comes out, other whales get the signal that, okay, whales are pulling money, so it's dumping, so that's when the price corrects, right? So if we just look at the 3-month chart, you can usually it's not people like you or me, the individual, pulling money out that pulls back the price. It's usually institutional investment that's pulling out. They're taking profits. So that's what they're saying. So when Mike Novogratz on CNBC goes on CNBC and says that, guys, be aware that Bitcoin could be at $40,000 by the end of 2018, but also keep in mind it's going to pull back 50%. So you, with this information, now know what he's really saying is that the only ones who can really make that kind of impact on the market are going to be the big whales, the people with institutional the investment. And that's not just Wall Street. It's also China, it's Korea, it's Japan. Whales exist all around the world. It could be even North Korea, and it could be Saudi Arabia or Austria or Germany or Swiss banks. But the point is that when that institutional investment comes in, this price is going to boom. And we're talking, I mean, I like the phrase that Mike Novogratz used, the herd is coming. So right now we're seeing wildebeest. We're seeing a trickle of wildebeest start to come across the Nile River Valley, right? But when the whole herd comes, you've seen Lion King too. You've seen Lion King. When the herd comes, it's like a stampede. It's a huge flood of institutions and people coming into the market, and that's why right now, yeah, you're in a hot position right now because less than 1% global adoption, less than 1% mainstream adoption, even in the United States. Less than 1% of the population holds a Bitcoin or some fraction of Bitcoin thereabouts. That number is expected to rise to 10%, to 20%, to 50%, and possibly even one day get to a full 100%. With that being said, if you know it's at 1% now, that gives you an idea of what it'll look like when it's at 100%, right? So that growth is going to be there, but on the way up, there's going to be institutional investment that's going to be on a magnitude that's going to be able to shift the market. The big problem with Bitcoin, as we see it right now, is that the whales hold too much power, because $168 billion is really not that much if there's 10 or 15 people in the 10 or 15 institutions in there with $5 billion each. And we're over here thinking, oh, our $8,000 buying one Bitcoin made a big impact on the market. But the truth is, the ones who are really making the impact on the market are these investment firms. And when they're going up, when Bitcoin's going up, they're waiting for their moment to take the profit. That's where you see the price of Bitcoin fluctuate. People taking profit on the way up. These investment firms, they're in it to make money. They're in it to collect money. They're not in it to just speculate and watch it rise. Sure, they're letting it rise right now and it's going up. But once they get the idea that it's time to take profit, that's when these kind of things right here happen. Like November. In September, it was a little bit different. If you look at September's pullback, that was because of news that happened with China. But either way, people were taking a profit. So I'm just bringing this up to you guys because it will move. The price will fluctuate. It will go up, but when it pulls back, and Mike Novogratz says that it's going to pull back 50% at some point too, it's because there's going to be institutions that are going to take profit. And when they do, they're usually going to be like a domino effect. It's going to be one after another just saying, okay, time to collect, collect, collect. And some of them are going to be at the big whales at the top are going to be the ones who are going to make the first move, and then the other whales are going to follow suit because they know that the whales are taking profit. And you, if you're aware of this possibility or this tactic that takes place, you'll be able to be aware when the profit taking is happening so that you can take your profit and buy back in at a lower rate, because eventually they do what? They buy back in at a better rate. So the ones that win the most are the ones who end up influencing the market first. So they sell at 10,000, then they wait for it to pull back, and then once they feel like it's bottomed out at 57.60, so they buy back in, but they've doubled down now. Or they've taken some of that profit, and then they buy back in at a way better rate, right? So this is what we're looking at. Obviously, in this case, it wouldn't have been doubling down. It would have been going from 7,000 or 7,500 to 57.60. But we're saying that when they're taking 50, when we're looking at Bitcoin recede 50%, those are the kind of things you have to keep in mind. Obviously, this is just hypotheticals, but this is things that you need to know about whales and institutional investment. They do move the market, and typically when one whale moves, another whale moves, and more whales follow suit. And then guys like us, we're standing on the sidelines thinking, okay, what is the market? Is the bottom following out from underneath us? When in reality, what's happening is sometimes the pullback is occurring because whales are taking profit. Now, as this market continues to grow, what's going to end up happening is one whale or two whales isn't going to be able to make as big of a dent in the price of Bitcoin like they are right now. So realistically, getting us to $1 trillion in market cap, with the idea that the herd is coming, meaning that, because usually when the herd comes, it comes in waves, like a big wave of, there's going to be a big wave of people coming into this market. Even at $10,000, they're still going to be wanting to know how to get a piece of the pie. As it hits $10,000, all the major news outlets in the world are reporting Bitcoin reaching all-time high. $10,000 is a real even number. So people are like, wow, the first time I heard about Bitcoin, what was it at? Wasn't it at like $1,000? Wasn't it at $5,000 just 2 months ago? That's how people are communicating in their homes, right? So now that it's at $10,000, they're like, are we invested in Bitcoin? How do we get into this Bitcoin thing? Which is going to drive the price, okay? So I'm bringing this up to you guys as a different way to understand the way the price is going to fluctuate. The institutional investors are something to keep an eye on. The more you know about the institutions, the better off you'll be. It's just like this. So do you own Bitcoin? You could soon have some without even knowing it. This guy, he writes an interesting article. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then they invest in you. He's talking about like institutional investors, basically. The institutionalization of this space is coming. It's coming pretty quick. Former hedge fund manager Michael Novogratz said at a recent conference, when it's that easy, the price of Bitcoin or Ethereum is going to go much higher. And that is a lot closer than people think. So what he's saying is the institutional investment is coming soon. The CME Group, a giant in the finance world for its role as a marketplace for options and futures, announced that it will be making a new product, a future based on Bitcoin. Okay, So you see this, okay? Then you have Coinbase custody targets $10 billion in institutional funds for Bitcoin investment. So they're setting aside Bitcoin for the institutional investors, right? They're also on GDAX. They have Coinbase, you know. So you guys do some research. I'm not going to read all this stuff, but you get the idea here. We are designing Coinbase custody to meet the needs of institutional clients. In particular, we feel that institutional clients require strict financial controls, dedicated account representatives. These guys are coming into the market. As right now, for you, the individual, it's going to bring up the price, and you're going to be able to take some profit on that. So as Wall Street pours in, you're going to take profit. But what's that also mean? That they're going to take control over it. They're going to take control over Bitcoin. That's what's basically going to happen, whether we like it or not. The institutions that carry big weight, once they start pouring in, yeah, Bitcoin's going to go up, but they're going to be taking it over. And so you can't get mad at me for making this video for telling you about that. But you can be aware of it because that's just the way the cookie crumbles, right? And you know, you have all this Libra-ized institutional investors with crypto tax, an accounting app. So just be aware, guys, institutional investment is going to pump this price up. So there's a lot of room to grow there. $168 billion is not a lot of money. It is a lot of money to me and you, but that's just double Bill Gates' net worth. Bill Gates, what's Bill Gates' net worth? I mean, he's at what? Last I checked, like 70 billion or something like that, maybe even higher than that. I think Jeff Bezos is number 1 now at like 90 billion, but I could be way wrong. I don't know the richest man in the world's net worth, but let's just say they are $90 billion. That's just double. That's Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates' net worth right there. That's what we're looking at. Okay, so it's not a lot of money. That's why we're saying like there is a lot of room to grow here. Do you realize that? You realize there's a lot of room to grow. You can't. The more you know, the better off you'll be, right? So that's why we're making this video, to let you know that the institutional investment, when it comes, it's going to have a major impact on the price. All right, guys. This is Jeff with Altcoin Buzz. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe to this channel. We make videos like this where we keep you guys informed. See you guys next time.